Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my January wrap up. Guys, this video is just off to a little bit of a whirlwind start because I actually already filmed, edited, and uploaded this video. Basically, it's February 4th and yesterday, February 3rd, I was getting really nervous that my wrap up wasn't up already because we were already a few days into the next month. So I quickly filmed it. The lighting was so bad. I did not look good and I just rushed everything and posted it so late at night. I woke up this morning not happy with the video. I'm not happy with myself. So I'm here to do my wrap up for real this time. I'm gonna take my time. I was so flustered in that video. We do not have to rush. It is February 4th. There's no rush. This is my first ever wrap up, so I'm new to this, but I've watched a lot, so hopefully we will be good. And a trend I've noticed in all of the wrap ups I've seen are stats. So I'm going to share with you guys my stats. Right off the bat, I read 6 books this month, which is pretty decent. 2019, I did not even read 10 books in the whole entire year. So 6 books in 1 month, I'm pretty okay with. Usually, I feel like I read 7 to 9-ish books, so it's a little below my average, but totally okay. As far as the quality of the books I read, I feel like I read a lot of kind of average, mediocre kind of books. I didn't get any books that wowed me, you know? Let me get my Goodreads up. I made a new Goodreads for the new year, so I'll leave it linked down below if you want to be my friend. I don't think I have any friends, so basically I made a whole new account, and you play that swipey game where after you add your genre, you pick books that you've read. So I have 50 or so books on my Goodreads right now. So like I said, I read 6 total books. I read 4 young adult fantasy and 2 new adult contemporary romances. In terms of ratings, which by the way, I do not have a proper rating system. I kind of just mood rate. Do I even know what they mean? No. I feel 3 stars means it was good. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And below 3 stars, if it's 2 or 1 star, I didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of boring. That kind of thing, you know? Overall, I rated 2 2-star books, 3 3-star books, and 1 5-star book. So kind of just not the best reading month, but overall it's okay. I read a lot of fantasy because I'm trying to get into the fantasy world. Young adult fantasy is such a popular genre, and you can see up here my fantasy shelf, it's slowly growing. So I'm going to talk about the books I read this month. My drive for the fantasy this month was kind of testing out different types of fantasy, and I'm trying to figure out my own path and what I like in fantasy books. So starting off this month and this decade, I read Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Catalina, which is a part of the Disney Twisted Tales series. This series by Disney is basically a compilation of a bunch of different authors who take Disney stories that we know and love and put a twisted tale on the characters. I love Frozen. This book was actually gifted to me for Christmas, and the catch right here is, what if Anna and Elsa never knew each other? I did sit on the dust jacket, so I promise you it bothers me more than you, so let's just not talk about it. This book I really enjoyed. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was just a fun read. It was more so just another way to spend extra time with these characters. Like I said, I love Frozen. I mainly identify with Anna. They do have a bunch of different ones. I've seen the Aladdin one, the Sleeping Beauty one in stores, but I know they have a whole collection to choose from. I feel like if you're really obsessed with certain characters, definitely get on this series and pick out books that you'd like. I feel like I'm more of a modern Disney girl, so give me some Moana and I'm here. I'm thinking maybe what if Maui never stole the heart? Yeah, so Frozen, loved it. 3 out of 5 stars. Really a fun read. So the next 2 books I have to talk about, kind of a whirlwind. I'm going to try not to get triggered. In the last video, I was very flustered. I'm going to take my time. I have a lot to say, so grab a snack and let's get into it. I read Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo and Sage and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. Let me try and get this correct. These are the first 2 books in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which are the first installments in the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. Basically, I bought Shadow and Bone because it's a beautiful cover. I'm obsessed with gold foiling, so I saw this on the shelf. We picked her up. Like I said, I'm trying to find new fantasies that I'd like, so I kind of picked up the first book in series and tested a few of them out. Right after I picked this up, I went to a different Barnes & Noble, and I picked up... Hello? Okay, making a mess. Basically, I picked up 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I am probably the last person on the planet that has not read this book, and I really want to read it because so many people love it. And when I was checking out, the cashier told me oh my god, you're buying my favorite book, and I was yeah, a lot of people love it. And she said, if you're gonna read Leigh Bardugo, do not even worry, go right to 6 of Crows. Don't read Shadow and Bone, go to 6 of Crows. I've heard a lot of people say that, but I had already purchased Shadow and Bone, so I was I'm not gonna just waste money. I'm just gonna read this and I'll be well prepared for or Six of Crows. So if you haven't read Shadow and Bone, we're basically following the story of Alina Starkov, who is a soldier in the military with her best friend Mal, and it's kind of based off this like Russian inspired world where there is a divide in their world called the Unsea or the Shadow Fold. Anyone who has crossed this fold has died, and with her regiment, Alina is forced to cross the fold, and as she's crossing it, she kind of discovers her powers. Alina discovers she has the power of summoning the sun, and because she has this gift, she is now Grisha. In this world, Grisha are like the elites. They're the magical ones, the gifted ones, and now Alina is a Grisha. So in this book, we just follow Alina kind of embracing her power, learning her power, and becoming into Grisha, and I really loved this book. I loved the character of Alina. I loved the Darkling. I had a lot of great moments with this book. I didn't really understand the world as well as I'd hoped. I felt like the world building in this first book was kind of lacking, but I really enjoyed it. And then we got like a major plot twist, which was expected but unwanted for me. In the end, although I was obsessed with it, I read it within 24 hours. I gave this book 3.5 stars just because I had a few flaws, but I was really obsessed with the characters enough to jump right into the next book. So I quickly followed up with Sage and Storm, which is definitely thicker than the first book, and basically, I didn't really connect with this second book, and I know a lot of people love this sequel. With this book, all of the world building we were lacking in Shadow and Bone was kind of overcompensated in this book, and I just felt very bored. I really loved the new characters we were introduced to, like Tolia, Tamar, Nikolai. I thought those were great characters, and that's kind of what kept me going through this book. But the overall plot, I felt like was pretty lacking, and I was just very bored. It took me a while to get through, and because of my experience reading this book, I did give it a 2.5. I gave it those extra 0.5 star because, again, I really loved the characters. But I was so bored that I haven't finished the trilogy with Ruin and Rising, which I did purchase. But I just don't feel any motivation to move on because I had such a boring experience, which is really unfortunate because I was really loving this book. Couldn't help myself, and I did look up spoilers for Ruin and Rising, and the ending I want is not what happens. So I don't, of course, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't see myself finishing this trilogy. Everyone, like I said, says you can just jump right in. So I don't really have any room because I have such an ambitious TBR for February, but I definitely plan to get to it. But this trilogy, it's very mixed emotions, so I don't feel as bad, but I'm just upset that I wasn't obsessed with this. If you guys think that I need to read Ruin and Rising, definitely let me know, even though I do know the ending. But if you guys think it's worth it, let me know. Just keep in mind that I love the Darkling. Continuing with young adult fantasy, my last fantasy of this month was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This book is like the fourth book in the ACOTAR trilogy, which I know doesn't make sense because it is a trilogy, but this is kind of a bridge book. It is considered a novella. Basically, I am probably the biggest ACOTAR stan out there. I'm obsessed with the characters. The Court of Dreams are my babies, and that is what we see in this book. I wasn't planning on picking up this book. I mean, I was bound to reread it at some point, but I saw on the channel This Story Ain't Over. Sorry if this video is a little too bright. I'm trying to make sure the lighting's good, but I saw she had posted a video kind of opening a discussion about companion books and continuing a closed story, and this book made the list because a lot of people actually don't like this book because there is no true plot, which I totally agree with. I think that's a valid point, but for me, someone who just loves these characters, it's just a way to spend more time with them. This was kind of like Sarah J. Maas saying, like, I know you miss them, like, here you go. It's like a gift, you know? So everyone kind of just has their own opinions on this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Even my second time going around, I just love these characters. So to close out this month, I read 2 new adult contemporary romances, both by Christina Lauren. So I read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren and Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren are one of those grouped authors that I kind of have mixed emotions about. I've discussed it before on my channel. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren is definitely in my top faves of all time. I adore this book. I love how open and innocent this book is. So if you guys need a really immersive relationship to fall in love with, I definitely recommend this book. And then we have books like Autobiography, which I loved. Again, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But then there's books like Roomies, which I didn't really care for. It was kind of just average for me. I think I gave it 3 stars. And then they have the Beautiful series, which is kind of like a guilty pleasure. I don't even rate those books. These 2 books were kind of like in the middle for me. First, I read The Unhoneymooners, and this book I've seen on so many people's favorites of 2019, and I could not wait to get to it. Basically, we follow Olive and Ethan, who despise each other, but when their siblings get married, the whole wedding party gets food poisoning except for them, and there is no one left to take the honeymoon trip except for them. So Olive and Ethan go to Maui, in Hawaii for 10 days, and obviously we go from like enemies to lovers, which I love that trope. I just didn't really connect with these characters in a way that I'd liked, and I also felt like Ethan as an individual, I didn't really understand him. I felt very confused about his character. Like I didn't know, like, should I like you, should I not? And overall I did enjoy it, but I gave this one 2, maybe 2.5 stars. I just like didn't really connect with these characters. And then we have Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, which I didn't even expect to read, but it is such a short book. I read it in one sitting before I went to bed, and I did enjoy the story. Basically we follow this girl named Hazel who is really outgoing, really quirky, and then we have Josh who is really laid back, very charismatic, and they sort of form this really great best friend relationship, and obviously in the end we know they become lovers. And one of my favorite parts about this book, which was surprising, was the familial aspects. Josh is Korean and his sister is also Hazel's best friend, and we kind of see a lot of their family, which I really enjoyed. As far as the relationship for the main characters, I did enjoy it. It wasn't really like an out of the park relationship for me like it is with Love in Other Words. This was kind of similar to, I'd say, a step above Roomies. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I probably wouldn't reread it, but again, I'm all across the board with Christina Lauren. Just like that, we have completed my wrap up. All 6 books I read this month. Again, it was kind of an average month. I'm super happy that I got 6 books in after coming from such an atrocious slump. I'm pretty happy with the amount that I read, but going into February, I don't like to set TBRs. I will be participating in the Contemporary-a-thon. I've already posted my TBR if you want to check that out, but I do kind of have like a soft TBR for February. Just a sneak peek for my next wrap-up, I did complete The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I've already started The Wicked King. This is just a dust jacket because it's on my bed. I'm really enjoying the story so far, so I will talk about it in my February wrap-up, but I definitely plan to complete this trilogy, hopefully. I have picked up another contemporary. This one is called I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver, and this book I have seen so much on BookTube. I saw it in Barnes & Noble and I'm just obsessed with this cover. There's also a really pretty illustration on the inside, and I just couldn't pass this book up. Basically, I don't know too much about the plot, but we're following a non-binary teen and his struggles. I've never read a non-binary character, so I think this will be a really important and influential book, and I've heard nothing but great things, so I can't wait to jump right into this. It'll probably be the next book I read. I think I'll be able to get through it pretty quickly, and again, I just love this cover and I'm hoping to love this book. So that's sort of like my soft TBR, but if you guys want to stay up to date with my reading on a more day-to-day basis, definitely click the link in my description and check out my Goodreads. And if you want to see more wrap-ups, more TBRs, and just more fun videos, definitely subscribe down below. And leave me a comment. Do you think I should read Ruin and Rising? And tell me your wrap-up. What books did you read this month? If you have any recommendations, let me know, and I'll see you in my next video.